Well, hello there, and welcome to day 54 of A Film a Day with me, Jordan Woodley. And today I'm looking at the new Amazon Studios release, I Care a Lot. This is an interesting one, I will say. It's nice to be watching a newly released film, and with all the films I've been watching lately, seeing the evolution of style and what you might call the hot contemporary pop culture film looks like. Because this is very much a popcorn thriller. At its heart, I do think it is trying to make a point about the commercialization of the care industry and the exploitation of the elderly. Helen and I were having a discussion about how ageism is one of the most under-acknowledged discriminations that we have. And that, frankly, with other groups who are targeted, whether it be on racial grounds, on LGBTQ plus grounds, on grounds of being, on misogyny grounds, whatever the case, the one that is hard to protect against is ageism. The elderly, we even, most societies have a problem where how do we protect people who are ultimately becoming increasingly more vulnerable? And in that corporate capitalist marketplace where you have elderly people who are seen as money bags, as the potential for exploitation for profit, how do you then defend them? Because of course they are becoming vulnerable and their health is declining. And so you have Rosamund Pike's character who comes in and is what you might call a legal guardian. And what she does is she exploits the system with a network of doctors and care home managers to essentially find elderly people who might be in decent health and do things like acquire the right to guardianship and then put them into care homes and then liquidate their assets and, of course, pay herself a large amount from that. And the question becomes, well, how do you prevent this? Because this is within the system. And she walks the line between doing something legal but simply exploiting loopholes, and of course illegal. But frankly, she is still on that line on the side of the line where she is simply exploiting a weakness that we have in society. So at its core, it has this commentary right there, and it's very powerful and meaningful, and it's at the same level as something like 99 Homes or Wolf of Wall Street, where you see the different variations of corruption. With 99 Homes, you have a very serious drama that explores how a good man is corrupted by greed to exploit people in the way that he was exploited through property. Or Wolf of Wall Street, where, okay, the character was never good, but you see the expansive layers and bloated gluttony that someone can achieve in a corporate financial sector and that kind of thing. Whereas with this, it's very much more insidious and targeted. This is actual people who are being directly used and exploited. However, whereas 99 Homes is a very serious drama, Wolf of Wall Street is this sort of character study. The problem, I suppose, or the different approach to I Care a Lot is that it uses a trope I haven't seen in quite a while, which is the sort of sexy thriller, the Wild Things, Basic Instinct kind of style of the '90s, where you have this powerful female character who is also quite she's magnanimous and also very sort of beautiful in her way, I suppose. And the way that it's shot, the way it's presented, the way that she always styles herself is always supposed to be the most that's the word I'm looking for, glamorous. And the camera emphasises that you know, it using Rosamund Pike to play this lead, of course, harkens back to Gone Girl, which is a very similar kind of drama. But although Gone Girl, I think, does, as it's tied to its source material, stick to a narrative of one kind, this goes to the nth degree. As I say, it goes in the Wild Things, Basic Instinct kind of direction, where it's just that little bit more popcorny, that little bit more pop culture kind of hot. And it goes as far as to, like I say, it does strange things, like even it has Rosamund Pike doing narration in the same way as she did with Gone Girl, but consequently there is something a little bit knowing by the fact that it's a very similar style. And then you have Peter Dinklage, who plays this gangster who, unbeknownst to Rosamund Pike, she's exploiting the mother of. And so she inadvertently crosses him, and he is much more your traditional, very serious, straight-laced gangster who deals with his problems swiftly and violently. And he's very good in that role. I mean, Peter Dinklage is... I'm just glad anytime I see him. I think he's a very charismatic actor. Even when he's playing this serious villain, he's the kind of actor who you just don't want to take your eyes off of, because he's always doing something in his performance, in his face, in the way that he carries himself, in his body language. There's just something about him that really... He holds the gaze, he holds the room. And consequently, because you have Rosamund Pike as the character who works within the system, corrupting it and using it to exploit, and then you have this actual gangster, and what it is them using machinations against each other, initially subtly, but it becomes, of course, more overt and more traditional thriller. But obviously, beneath it all, there is the commentary about, you know, you have this gangster, and he is just a straightforward criminal who has done violence and has no problem having people killed, torturing, whatever needs to be done, he'll do it. And this character that Rosamund Pike plays, and the narrative is obviously trying to create the question of who's worse in this scenario, and the fact that you have someone in the care industry, and even the question being asked, well, who's worse, this person in the care industry or this gangster, has this subtextual commentary in it. And so for the first half, I think that's very interesting and powerful, and it really does show you the steps that she goes to take the autonomy away from the elderly. We have Diane Wiest, who plays what you think is just this very sweet, vulnerable woman who's then exploited. But, and I do think Diane Wiest is very good in this role, but this is where the problem with it lies, which is the first half very much is embedded in that, whereas it really starts to lose control of itself. And because it wants to be this glamorous, sexy thriller, it does start to forget what it's about. And it's doing that kind of narrative where no one is good in it. You know, it's villain versus villain, and everyone around them are variations of corrupt or bad or just rubbish. And so you're essentially seeing bad people, and it's fun to watch bad people play off against each other, and then you're questioning, well, who's going to win, you know. But because it gets so fixated on that and their machinations and what they're circling each other, it does lose the core commentary that it was trying to make. And so by the third act, it's no longer about this very clear, defined message about how elderly people can be easily targeted. And I think that's a shame, because I do think it started very strong, and I wasn't bored by this like I say, this is a sexy thriller, but it's not the thing I really went in to watch, and so again, and it then starts to become a little bit ridiculous, and so where it starts quite serious and straightforward, it then veers more into sort of a nonsense narrative, really. But yeah, it was fun, I suppose. It's just not. It's not ideal. Like I say, it's fun. It's disposable. Rosamund Pike does do a fantastic performance, and as does Peter Dinklage. Diane Wiest, I do think it's a shame. I do think she could have had a much bigger role in it. And even Isa Gonzalez, who plays Rosamund Pike's girlfriend in this, and a partner in her company, or she works for her in some capacity, does again play a good character in this. I don't know. It's a shame, because I do think its potential didn't quite live up. So yep, simple one really. I'll see you tomorrow. Take care.